Welcome. Hope you're all having a good weekend. So for today, I figured I would do a demo on a question someone had asked me, which is how to create custom eye shines when you're animating a rig. And dingy, hello! So the main issue that this is trying to resolve is, as you can see, like eyes are shiny. It catches light, and if I turn this light up here, you can see how we get that shine in the eye. Now when we're animating, we can use Maya's default materials and stuff to get a shine on the eye, which is very nice. But the problem is sometimes they don't work too well. Sometimes the shine will be like right in the center of the pupil, which is not that appealing. So the shine just won't be in the right spot. It's going to be not in our control. Maybe we want to add more shines to kind of give a maybe like an anime style feeling where they have lots of different shines in the eye, or just have more control over it. So today I want to show a simple method of getting that in there, where we can have a shine that is fully under your control, and not only that, but highly customizable. So that's going to be the demo for today. And Nicholas, Sin, Jukes, hello. Load, Super Friendly Sam, hello. Animouth, how's it all going? Hope you're all doing well. So I'll jump right into the demo because I do know some people had asked for feedback as well. So I'd like to get through the demo first before that starts rolling in. That way we can just kind of get through all the lecture stuff first, I guess. So let me share my screen here. And as always, if you do have questions along the way, if anything's not making sense, definitely feel free to ask basically anything. So this is the scene that we're going to be using right here. So I've just brought in a character rig. This is the Aya rig from Animation Mentor. And if we zoom in here, we can see that her eyes have a shine on them, which works very well. Oh shoot, I'm still hearing audio clips from my assignment, more than 300 clips so far. Oh geez, that's a lot. It's the dialogue clips are always fun in our own horrible special way, especially when you start working on the assignment and then you're going to be listening to it for 12 weeks in a row over and over and over. And Marissa, hello. So the problem right here is that we've got these shines. They look good when we have a 3/4 angle. This is nice. It kind of gives a little bit of life to the eyes so that they're not just flat and a matte material. But what if we wanted a close-up of the face, maybe a little bit more from the front view? Suddenly those shines are right in the middle of the eye, and this creates an awkward effect. Now if the eyes were looking over to the side like this is fine. But what if we do need this? The problem with these shines is that they are not controllable. These are created using just Maya's viewport lighting and basically come from the camera. Now, there is one way we can control this somewhat, which would be creating a new light. So if I create an area light here, for example, and let's kind of move it off to the side here, and then I turn on lighting in my viewport, now you can see this light's a little close, but let's move it off just a little bit. There we go. Now the shines are being controlled by the position of this light right there. So let's kind of, where's my light? There we go. So you can see how that is affecting the position of the shine. So I could do that, but the problem now is that we're going to have to deal with all of this lighting. And first, thank you so much for the subscription. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Ooh, he's doing a Maya workshop. Nice. I kind of wanted to take his My Workshop just to see if I can learn anything new. You never know what you'll learn. I love taking like Maya courses and stuff. There's so many little tidbits. Definitely I recommend for anyone who's interested. I believe he's having a discount on it, especially if you're new to Maya. I think it's only like $100 or something like that. So definitely worth checking out. Plus it's what he taught at DreamWorks, so that would be interesting to see what it would be. So we can control the shines of the eyes using the light here. But as you can see, it's not super controllable. Also, it changes all the lighting in our scene, which kind of sucks. So, how can we create some shines that are fully under our control? That way we can, as animators, we have everything we need. We can make it shake a little bit if we want the eyes to look like they're tearing up or maybe scared. We can add multiple ones. We could have just whatever we want. So that's going to be what we're going to be doing today. And Marissa, I do know a little bit about Mel scripting. I haven't done it in a long time. I do mostly Python scripting now. And you can use this rig when you get to class 4 in Animation Mentor. So this is one of the acting rigs. So to demo this, I've made a copy of the eye here. So this is just the eyeball. And the reason I'm using this is I want to use this as a demo. You would actually do this on the rig itself, but this is just going to give us a little bit more of a easy target to aim for. So the first thing I'm going to do here is actually add a new material to the shiny part of the eye, to the lens, just so we can see this a little bit better. And Jukes, thanks so much for the subscription as well. Tier 1 subscription, geez, thank you so much. That is awesome. Okay. You guys. So we've got the shine here. So this is the default shine. It is just a material on the eye that causes it to catch light. But what if we want full control? The main thing that we need is simply a piece of geometry. That's all it is. Now, the way we can create this, there's a lot of different ways, but I'm going to show a very simple way that'll work on pretty much any rig. So, first of all, I'm going to take this lens and I'm actually going to turn off the specular on it. That way we don't get the other shine, like so. And I'm also going to just turn up the transparency on that lens. This is just so we can see the two different pieces of geometry. There's the lens and then the actual eye. Okay, so in order to create a shine, my favorite way is just to go to Create, Polygons, and create a disk. So I'm going to create a disk. You'll see it's down there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Shading, Wireframe on Shaded. This allows us to see all of the bits and pieces of this, or all the edges and where the vertices are on these models. So with the disk selected, I'm going to hold down V. This is the point snap hotkey. V is in Victor. And then middle mouse drag on that point right in front of the eye. This will snap that disk over. And then I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees. Boop. Okay. So that gets to the disk pretty much on the eye. Now, the default disk does not have the right geometry that I prefer. You can see the way it's set up, it's just a lot of quads, lots of squares, which makes it very hard to manipulate in my opinion. So instead, I'm going to open up the inputs and I'm going to switch it from circle, the subdivision mode, to caps. Then I'm going to increase the sides. Let's kind of match the eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is a 20-sided sphere. So let's do 20, like that. Or Is it? Yeah. So we've got that. And subdivisions, this is how much detail goes in and out. I only really need one. I don't want to have too much detail on this. So something like that. I could even tone the sides down, maybe 12. Doesn't really have to have that much detail for something so small. Okay, so we've got that. Now, you can see it doesn't really match this shape of the eye, does it? It's just this flat disc over the eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the edges, double click on the outer edge to select that, and then bring it in, like so. And then the inner edge here, the middle edge, bring that in, just like that. And with that, we've created a curvature that follows the eye. Let's just select this and hit 3 to smooth it out. So, with that, we get this disc that sits over top of the eye. Now, to make it easier to see, I'll select it, right click, and I'm going to assign a new material. And since this is a shine, shines are light. It is not something that will take on shadows and light. It is literally the reflection of a light. So I'm going to use a surface shader. This will make a pure color on the eye. This is not going to be affected by shadows or anything. I'll just make it white for now. There we go. So let's simplify that. There we have a dot over the eye. Now, with where it is right now, it's not really going to work, because if I try to move it around, you can see it doesn't really function too well. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze its transformations. This resets all of its translates scales, all of that. And Cripewolf, thanks so much for the follow. So I freeze its transformations, and then what I can do, this is where you have a lot of different choices. Let's do the super simple version. I'm just going to bring back my wireframe. Boop. And I'm going to snap my pivot point. So I'm going to hold down D. This allows me to move the pivot point of the this shine here. And I'm going to snap it into the center of the eye. So this is where one of the orthographic views can be very helpful to make sure you get the absolute center. I think I was just a little off. Yeah, I need it to be right there. So where that joint is right there, that's where I need it to be. You want to make sure you get the center of the eye. That way you're able to pivot it correctly. Okay. How do you snap? The shortcut is V. So the shortcuts, you can see the snapping tools are up here. These are the magnets. These are all the snapping. The shortcuts for this are X, this is grid snapping, C, curve snapping, V, point snapping, and then the other two, let's see, what are they? I always forget these ones. Projected center snapping, and then view plane snapping. So it's X, C, and V for the main ones. And then yes, that is a good point. So in this case, I have the joints visible. That means I can use that as a snapping tool. But what if you don't have the joints visible? So let's say the eye, we're just going to move it forward a little bit. Whoop, we kind of flipped our view there. What if it's out here and we have nothing else to snap to? Well, in that case, what you can do is select the geometry of the eye and go to let's see, display, and then transform display, and right here you can turn on different elements that show where the axes are. So for example, if I turn on local rotation axes, that puts a little marker right there where the general or the pivot point is, which is typically the center. In this case, you can see it's actually a little higher than the center, but it's actually left to right, the proper center. So this means I can take that and snap my pivot point, boop, right there. Get that perfect center. Then let's just turn off the local rotation axes, which I believe I turned on the other piece of geometry. Boop, there we go. So, with that, if I take my shine now, I can rotate it and place it wherever I want. There we go. Done. Now, this creates a very harsh shine. You can see it's just extremely pixel perfectly sharp. Sometimes you want this, it creates more of a cartoony effect. But in this case, this rig is not super cartoony. A lot of the shading on it tends to be very soft. So what if I kind of want to replicate that so I don't kill the feeling of this rig? Well, I can take the shine here and let's go to our attribute editor and find the material here. So I'm just going to take my out transparency for the ramp. This is the transparency of the shine. So I could affect that if I want, maybe make it just ever so slightly transparent, just so we can get some color through there. Or I can hit the checkerboard, which will allow me to attach another node or texture to this, and I'm going to attach a ramp to the transparency. Now with this ramp, I'm going to set it to a circular ramp, and then let's see, did I get that right? Interesting. Oh, there we go. Have to turn on textures. So hit 6 on your keyboard to turn on materials and textures, or else that won't show up. Totally forgot I had that off. So with this ramp, you can see I can now affect the transparency of the material. So I can just bring these in a little bit, make that still a little harsher. Maybe something more like that. And now we get this nice soft effect on there. And you'll notice it kind of goes gray a little bit every once in a while. This is because it's kind of falling underneath the other object. So I might have to pull that out or just adjust my material here. So with this, let's actually go back in here for now. So we're not fighting a material for too long. So with that, we pretty much have a shine. And if I wanted to, I could just make as many as I wanted. So I could duplicate this, maybe have another one there. And for this one, I'm going to select the edges and let's just scale this down. Bring it back out so it doesn't cut into the eye. Let's take this, scale that as well. So now we have a slightly smaller shine, like so. And with both of these, I can now create something like that. And they're fully animatable. So if I want to animate the shines as the eye is looking in any direction, I can just put them however I would like. And then the eye can still move around and adjust itself without moving those. And the nice thing with these is that they don't have to be circles. So for example, if I wanted to, I could create a shine. It's not going to be great if I try to do it here, but we'll do that. Like maybe make one that's just kind of a little bit more of a line right through here. So something like that. Now you'll notice I would have to start modifying it to kind of fit the curve of the eye. But once I do that, I'll be good. As long as you can match the curve of the eye, all is well. Oh, pushed it a little too far there. So, like that. So now I've got this other shine that maybe I do this. And now we're starting to get just a little bit more of a stylized effect compared to the Maya default. And let's see here. There we go. So I can still have that transparency in there. Let's adjust that transparency. There we go. Get that. So voila. We get a nice shine that is easily customizable. And you could do any shapes you want to. You could make a star shape if you want to make the character very cartoony, and have like maybe a heart-shaped shine if you want. Whatever you want. As long as it matches the curvature of the eye, then you're all set. So that's pretty much it. It's not that much more complicated than that. Now, there are some complications to be aware of. One is, let's say we wanted to create a shine, but we wanted it to be controllable not by the geometry. Normally I don't like this, but for eye shines, especially multiple ones, I find this is just the easiest way to do it. Otherwise you have to have a lot of controls all overlaid into the eye. It's just messy. Whereas I can just select the eye and or the shine and move it wherever I want. Done. But what if I want to be able to control the size of it a little bit more? Right now, if I try to scale it up, I get this. Or what if I want to be able to control it from a different controller? So let's just say we have the one on here, and I want it to be similar to the eyes, where we have this controller out here that I can move, and this controls the eyes. I want the same thing for the shine. Well, now we just have to go into a little bit of very basic rigging. So let me reset the eye position back, or the shine back into place here. Oop. And get all the rotations back. I'm actually going to set the eye back as well. Z. Just so we have that kind of default position right in there. So let's say right there. Modify, freeze transformations. There we go. So let's say this is our default. Well, first let's do a scalable eye. The problem with this is because, or I should say a scalable shine. I need to be clear on that. The problem right now is that our pivot point is in the center of the object. This means that any little change we do comes from the center. That's not good. We need this to happen, and I just realized my eye is not quite centered. It got offset. So let me quickly do this again. I forgot to zero out my... Oh no, it is good. Interesting. Okay. Won't need to worry about that right now. Display, transform, local. Okay. So the main issue right now is that if we were to try and scale it, it's going to scale from the center of the eye, like that. That's not good. So instead, what we need to do is we need it to scale from the center of the shine. Well, in order to do that, we just need to select the shine and go to Modify, Center Pivot. Get that pivot point back to where it was originally. with this, I can pretty much try to scale this as much as I want. Now you can't go too large or else, as you can see, it starts to split away from the eye. But you can go smaller and get that nice and clean. So usually what I like to do is I make the shines bigger than I need, and then I can scale them down pretty easily. So with that, we get that adjustability. Pretty simple. Now there are more in-depth ways of doing that, but that kind of adds a whole lot of complexity to things. But this is a quick and simple way of doing it. Let me actually, noticing my edges here are a little off, so I'm just gonna bring them in closer. There we go. There we go. So we get that scale control. But if it's over here, that means we can't rotate it anymore. So what we need is a hierarchy, basically. We need somewhere else to rotate this from. So this is where you have so many choices. I could create a locator and put that in the eye, control it from there. I could just create a group. So I could take this object, the shine, group it, and then I'll move the pivot point of the group to be the center of the eye here. So let's once again go to display, transform display. I'm going to take my group, move its pivot point, boop, right there. Right in the center of the eye. So what that gives me is the ability to take my group, oops, there we go, rotate that anywhere I want, and take my disc and scale that. So I still have that nice ability to scale and move. Now, what if I want this to be controlled by an outside curve? Well, that's actually pretty simple as well. My favorite way of doing this is just creating a circle, a NURB circle. This is basically just a curve. I'll put that in front of the eye, about there. Let's freeze its transformations, so that's its default. Boop. And now, I need the eye to follow this curve. So to kind of demo this, let me create a cube and a cone. So, anytime you want one object to follow another, all it takes is a very simple constraint. So let's say I want this cone to always point at the cube. You'll take the object that you want to lead. So I want the cube, as I move this, the cone is the one that's constrained. So I'll take the cube first, then the cone. I'm going to do constraint, and I'm going to create an aim constraint. An aim constraint makes it so that whatever object is constrained will always keep in the same orientation and point towards the original. So I do that. Now you can see it's always pointing to the cube, no matter what I do. That's pretty much it. So if I come in here, I'm going to select the object that leads. This is going to be the eye control. Then the group, constrain, aim, and now I have a control that lets me move the shine interactively. Just like that. Now, this is something I just like to do. You'll notice that a lot of the eye controls, they're circles a lot of the time. This can get very confusing if you start having your own shine controls in there as well. So if I create shine controls, what I'll do is I'll take the control curve here, right click, and go to control vertex. Select like every other one and just scale them in. This just changes the shape of it, makes it a little star, a little shine. So now I know exactly, yep, that's my shine control. And I can move that around. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So with this, the only other thing I would need to do is link this to the eye somehow. So that, for example, let's say you have your character moving forward, it doesn't just get left behind. Now this will depend on your rig. A lot of times I would just constrain the group, its position, to, for example, the joint right in the eye there. That is constraining it straight to the skeleton. That way it follows along no matter what. So with all of that, let's actually just get rid of all that and we'll make one for her eyes here. So let's see. Hey Brian, Spencer, hello. And do the Prepper Bros make YouTube videos? No, I've been thinking about doing YouTube videos. It's mostly finding the time. Especially, I would love to do like short form videos because these streams get long and there's always like interruptions and stuff. I would love to do videos where I can just like do little tips, like 5 minutes, and here's how to do it, done. Nice and edited and clean. It's just finding the time to do all of it, all the editing. Could you go over the aim constraints attributes? It's always so confusing. Oh, I could definitely do that. And Abramation, hello! So, let's go over the eyes here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the eye material for these eyes. And I'm just going to turn off the shine. Boop. This way it doesn't get in the way. The way I did that is I just turned the specular color all the way down. That way there's no color to it. So with the shine spot, you remove all reflectivity in the eye. It would depend. Usually if I'm doing an eye spot like that, I am not rendering the eye. So if I was to render the eye, I would have to go through a lot of different settings to make sure I'm not getting too much reflectivity on the lens, because that'll also reflect lights, which will affect my eye spots. I usually try to do more of a cell shaded render, but in the viewport itself, it's just turning down the blend, or you could even just apply a Lambert to the eye lens. So let's create a shine here, and I'm just trying to think, what do I want to do for this eye? First, let's go to wireframe on shaded. This makes it easy to spot where the centers are. Twitch videos are not permanent. They last for 30 days. But if ever you do need a tutorial that I've done in the past, just let me know. I save them all on my computer. I've got like 200 or 300 recordings at this point. And I can re-upload them. Eventually, I'm hoping to just get them all uploaded. But again, it's finding the time to do it. Spyro and Luigi are awesome. Highly suggest you play them. Oh man, I have them. I really need to send them. Oh, and yes, the DMs on Discord are off. I was getting a lot of spam, unfortunately. I think in one day I got like, what was it, 30 messages from just these bots that joined the Discord, so I had to turn that off, unfortunately. It was right around that same time that for anyone who remembers, we got that bot invasion here on the stream, where a whole bunch of bots came in and started just posting in the chat, and like they were mimicking human speech, and trying to take bits of the conversation and make it seem like it was an actual person. And then they started taking people's usernames and mimicking those. It was weird. It was interesting. I'll put it that way. Oh, that would be awesome. The main thing is I have to upload even the unedited videos. Like I have to upload them, and that's the thing that takes a lot of time, just because my internet's not super fast out here. But I think I did upgrade my internet recently, so hopefully it should be better, and maybe I'll be able to get some uploads pretty quick. I'd need to set up an automatic way of uploading. But I'm getting distracted again. I'm so easily distracted. Eye shines. I want to add an eye shine to this character. So once again, let's create a nice little shine. So I'm just going to create a disk, and let's do it properly this time. So I'm going to move it. Now what I mean by properly is I didn't rename it last time. So this is going to be Shine Geo. Always rename your objects. It's going to save you later on. Let's move it just slightly off from the eye, and then make sure the rotation is perfect in 90 degrees. So right around there. Okay. Let's set that back to caps, and do I want to add 2? Yeah, let's add 2 this time. And how big do I want this? Let's make it a little bit bigger than I normally would want, and then I can adjust it later. Oh, the streams keep cutting in and out. Is it cutting in and out for everyone else, or is it fine? If it's cutting out for anyone else, or if it's not cutting out for anyone else, I should say, try to tone down the quality of the stream. That might help. Okay. It should be in the bottom right corner. So let's take this edge, boop, move it in. This one too, just move that in there. And this one ever so slightly, just like that. So just create that nice little rounded disc for the eye. Like so. Now I'm gonna go in here again, assign existing, because I still have my surface shader from before. So I can add that in there. And with this, I don't really need wireframe on shaded right now. So boop, we've got that. Now, there was a question here. Why would you need a manual shine? The reason you would need a manual shine is that sometimes you want to be able to control the position of the shine and get a very specific effect. Other times the default shine that you get with an eye, for example, if you're doing a character looking at the camera, it'll go right in the middle of the eye, which looks very unappealing. It's just centered right in the pupil. Usually it's nice to have it kind of on the outside edge of the pupil and the iris. So by having a manual shine, we can put it wherever we need. We have full control. So that is usually the main thing. The other thing with manual shines is instead of just one, you can add multiple. You can just basically do whatever you want, which is very nice. Let's see. So with this, let's connect it to the eye here. So we've got the shine in place. Now we need to set up our mode of movement. So the first thing, before I do anything else, I'm going to go to Modify, Freeze Transformations. I'm also going to go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. This gets rid of any construction history, keeps it nice and clean. Okay. So I want to have a little bit more control over this eye control. So I want to be able to scale it, all of that good stuff. So I don't want to just move its pivot point. So instead, let's group it. So now we have that group in there, and we can take that group, and I'm going to move its pivot point up. Now again, I could create a locator if I wanted to. It doesn't really matter which thing I use, as long as I get the pivot point in the right spot. So let's see if I can get it to that joint there. Whenever you're looking inside a rig, it's always kind of a pain. So I'm going to actually select the joint, Let's go to display, transform display, local rotation axes. Take my group again and snap it boop, right there. This is such a useful tool. If ever I'm modeling or rigging, this is basically always right there. Just makes it so easy to snap to pivot points. Okay. So with that, we now have that shine, and if I select the group, we can rotate it. Now you'll notice it does go into the eyelid a little bit, and that's fine. No one will notice, especially from a distance. Okay. Now, make sure you name your group. So this is the shine pivot group. So let's reset that. Okay. So now, how do I want to do this? So we've got the eye control here. That's perfect. Do I want a shine control? That's very similar. Probably. I think it would be nice to have. So let me just duplicate. No, I'm gonna make my own. Let's go to NURBS primitives. We'll create a circle. And once again, let's say I want to move it and keep it in line with all these other controls, all these eye controls. So I'm going to select that main eye control right there. Local rotation axes. And I can take my other one and boop, right there. Perfect. Perfectly positioned with all the other controls. And let's use our control vertices, scale them in, so now we can see, yep, here's our shine. Once again in place, modify, freeze transformations, and then edit, delete by type, history. This gets it pretty much all set to be used. Now, the other thing is you'll notice that this control is just the normal default blue, whereas these are red. Maybe I want this, because it is the right shine, I want this to be a shade of red. So that if I had another one over here, I can differentiate them, especially if they start moving around. If ever you need to do that for a NURBS curve, let's actually, before I do that, let's call this shine, and this is the right one. I should have named these right and left as well. So this is her right eye, R control. So if I open up the attribute editor, under object display, drawing overrides, if you turn this on, you can select the color index. So let me actually turn off selection highlighting right here. So if I use this, I can change the color to whatever shade of red or color I want. So I could put it this really bright red, same as the other one, or just pick whatever I want from this, or you can even set your own custom color. So maybe I wanted red, but maybe like a dark red, just so we can kind of differentiate it from the main control there. There we go. That's it. So now if I had another one, I could duplicate that, set its color index to blue, maybe a darker blue, and there we go. We won't confuse these two controls together. So let's actually get rid of that for now. Okay. So I can now start to set up the controls. Now the first thing, the more important one, is that I'll need this shine to follow the head. That's kind of the big one. Who cares about it following another control and aiming towards that if it's not actually following the head itself? So in order to do this, all I need to do is take my group here, and I'm actually, just for safety's sake, I'm going to group that again. So this way I have my pivot group, and then I have another group. This is going to be my shine constraint group. So basically, this is the one that I'm going to constrain to the body. This is the one that I am using as an aim, and I could, instead of pivot, let's call this aim. And then I've got the geometry. I just like to separate these. That way I'm not going to run into any issues of, what would be the right word? Of attributes getting double connections. It is a very intense song. So to do this, I'm going to take my shine constraint group right here. Let's go into wireframe, and I want it to follow the joint of the eye. This is a kind of, joints are usually kind of really good points to constrain things to, because they move with the whole body compared to different points or geometry. So I'm going to take the joint, then I'm going to take my shine constraint group, and I'm going to create some constraints. Now really all I need is a point constraint. So I'm going to do that and hit add. The reason for this is I want it to be so that as the body moves, it follows the eye, but the shine stays still. If I put this as a parent constraint, that shine would just follow the eye perfectly, which is nice in some ways, but that's not how light works. If you have a character looking around, the shine is not going to be following the eye perfectly. It just stays where the light is pointing. So this kind of gives me what I need. Now, with that out of the way, let's take our aim group, and we want it to follow this control right here. So I'm going to take that control there, take the aim group, and let's create an aim constraint. This basically lets me move that. So now we can adjust this and put it wherever we want, like so. Now with this, we could call it done. Or we could keep going. And this is where it's really just however far you want to modify this rig, you can just keep on going and going and going. So for example, what if I want that shine to follow the eye itself? So I want it so that when I move this control here, that shine also moves with it. Well, let's do this. Let's group the shine control in here. And this is going to be shine control constraint group. So I can use this to constrain the shine to this control here. And I'm going to use a parent constraint this time. That way it follows completely. So take this control, take the group, constrain parent. Okay, what does that give us? Well, now when I move this, it looks so weird. That shine moves along with. That means that I can adjust this, maybe get it in that nice angle right there. And if the eye adjusts, it stays perfectly in that spot. What this also makes is that when I move the head, it follows along. There we go. So now we have that ability. But what if I want to be able to turn that off now? What if at certain points I want to just leave that shine exactly where it is, but I've constrained it? Well, all I need to do is add a control that lets me turn the weight of the constraint on and off. So let's say I want to be able to do that. The constraint that I need to turn on and off is going to be right here on the constraint group. I need to turn this one on and off right there. So that's this constraint right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of a complex, not complex, but an extra layer that I like to do to simplify things. So I want a control in this eye shine right in here that will allow me to turn whether it follows the eye on and off. So let us create that. So I'm going to go to create, and I'm going to, or sorry, I'll select this. I'm going to go to modify, and let us create a attribute. So I'm going to add an attribute, and we're going to call this follow align. If I can spell, follow align. Now, I could use a lot of different things in here. All of these vectors, integers, string, float, boolean, these are all different types of values. So in this case, I want a boolean. This is an on-off switch. So I want to make a follow align attribute with a boolean data type. And if I hit add, there we go. Follow align, on, off. Yay. Now I want this control to control the on, off, the 0 to 1 of this control, the Aya right eye control weight. This is the constraint for the shine group. And we're starting, I know there's a lot of little different things to keep in mind, but basically we want the follow align to control the on off of the constraint. So we'll go to Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor. This basically lets us create connections between different attributes. So as soon as I load that, because I had the shine here selected, it'll load up on the left side here. Now I'm going to take my constraint node, load that on the right. So we've got the left, the right, and we are outputting from the left side. You can see it right here, from, and then into there. So for this, I want to find my follow line. It should be at the bottom. Yep. So follow line, I want that to connect into Aya right eye control weight. Right there. Boop. So now that is connected into this, which means that, let's test this out. If I move this, that follow line is off. It doesn't follow. If I turn that on, now it follows. It's turning the constraint on and off, which means that I have now full control over that eye. If I want this to follow, there we go. This way I can put that shine exactly where I want. Maybe I like it right there. And now as the eyes look around, we keep that shine in place. Or I want to create a more realistic shine, which realistic, I mean, it is affected by a specific light in one spot. I'll turn that off. And now it stays put as the shine, or as the eyes move. There we go. So with that, I've basically created a shine control that is attached to this rig and follows along. And I would just have to repeat that for the other eye. And you could make multiple shines using this same method, all sorts of different shapes and forms for the shines. You can go all out with this. Now, let me actually catch up with the chat here, and then I'll go over some things to watch out for. Okay, so what the program I'm using is Maya 2019. I definitely need to try out Maya 2020 at some point, but I just need to find the time to download it. So let's see. Are you going to make the light reflections only follow the iris? No, they can basically follow anything. Is there a way it can circle around it without it being straight and pointy like it is? Straight and pointy? I'm not sure what you mean by straight and pointy. You can circle around it. Do you mean like have it circle around the eye like that? It would just be a matter of moving the control and animating this going around the eye. So if you wanted to kind of have a light in front of them that's spinning, you could recreate that right there. Is there a good shortcut list for Maya? I've never really found a good one personally. I kind of like just going to Windows, Settings, Preferences, Hotkey Editor. In newer versions of Maya, this is really nice. And you can see all your hotkeys right in here. So, for example, well, actually, is this the best way? Nah. This is nice if you're editing stuff, but not so much for learning hotkeys. I wonder if I just do a Google search for animation hotkeys. Because there are so many hotkeys that are not animation related. Let's see. Maybe this could help. It's not the most like easy to follow, but let's get that link in there. Hopefully that link's not too long. But yeah. Do you need an editor for your YouTube videos? I would probably need an editor. The thing I really need is time. Because even recording things, I need to be able to sit down and record at some point. But if I do find that time, I would definitely love to have an editor. That would make my life so much easier. Oh, and WebProv, thank you so much for the follow. CD Animator, hello. In a studio, would eye shines typically show up with rendering, or would they typically be rigged like this? It depends on the shot, really, and on the production. So, for example, I did a render of a rig here. So, oops, wrong image. This one, I think. Yeah. So this was a render I did for a different project. Oops. No, that's wrong. I want to zoom. There we go. And you can see these shines are created using rendering. So these are actually shining the lights from the scene into the eye. And it creates these nice kind of realistic, by realistic I mean it captures all these extra little details in those shines. That's good for that type of rendering. But if you're trying to do kind of a more of a 2D effect, or something that is more cell shaded, then these types of shines work much nicer. You really kind of have to know what is your end goal. So, for example, if I knew that I was going to be rendering this with Arnold later, I probably wouldn't be doing these. This is something that if I knew that I was never going to render this, I was just going to use a Play Blast, or if I knew that I was going to get a very cell shaded look to this with my rendering, that's when I would create this. And Vivian, thank you so much for the follow. So it really just depends on what the project is. So because the streams aren't recorded, do you ever end up demoing the same things more than once? I do, which I don't mind because it allows other people to ask questions. But I would love to have like a repository of like, I can just go, hey, I already did that, and then check it out. Especially for people to rewatch. That would be so nice because I hate the fact that, for example, I'll do a demo and then 30 days later it's gone and someone goes, hey, I finally want to use that and I can't find it anymore. And that defeats the purpose. These demos are supposed to be here to help anyone at any time, whenever is more convenient for them, not just for 30 days. So I've been considering creating a YouTube channel for the last like year and a half. Like really considering it. It's finding the time. Like my schedule, I have like half the day on Tuesday, usually where I'm not working. And that's about it. The rest of the time I'm working or doing other projects. Which is not a healthy way to live, but yeah, I need to start delegating or try to figure out some ways of simplifying my workload. Oh, nice. I'm so glad the Stuart Stand mod is working out. I so wanted you to use that just because it looked so awesome. I've never seen someone do that before, and to not use it would be a crime. Like, it was so much fun to just look at in the one pose. I can't wait to see what it looks like in the animation. A jewel pose as a happy bow. Yes, the happy me. When you use eyeshine rigging. Oh, my pleasure. What if you just re-uploaded the streams on YouTube? I can't. Unfortunately, I tried that a while back, but YouTube is much stricter on their upload rules, and all my videos keep getting flagged. Even if I remove the music, or I would have to remove all the music and stuff, which I could always just try to find like unlicensed music, but then I don't find it as inspiring. I really like video game music, and part of these streams is showing what I find helpful, and hopefully it helps someone else. Now I do have it set so that when I record, it puts the music on a different channel, and I can remove that. But then that means editing and encoding, and then it just it keeps snowballing. Can you make a list with all the topics you've done already? Ooh, that's a good idea. Let me write that down. Create topic list. That way people can actually just go, hey, can you upload this? And I can prioritize uploads much more easily. That would be awesome. I like that. Thank you so much, Colo. Let's see. I think Disney Clone Wars is using eyeshines because it allows them to use more complicated lighting. Yes. So you can recreate the feeling. Ooh, this is a perfect image. Like that. You can recreate the feeling of more complex lighting very simply, and you have very precise control. So you can see how that shine is right on the center point between the pupil and the iris. Very specific. It is not just in the middle of the eye in a random place. It is not just kind of positioned out. Like sometimes you'll get eye shines that are like way out here. That does nothing. It doesn't add to the eyes. White over white. Sometimes you'll get this, which just feels odd. But with control, you can get like right there. Perfect. It is exactly where I need. And if my camera moves, I can go, boop, right there. Perfect. So it just gives you that like super control. Now, I will say you can actually do this in rendering as well. It takes a little bit of time, but you can do the same thing with what's called light linking. So you would create a light that is specifically connected to just the shine of the eye, and no other lights would affect the shine of the eye. This way you can control where that light and that shine is happening. The problem with this, and this happens when you have kind of more realistic rendering like this, is let's say you have a shine on the eye and you want to add it like right up here. Well, this can very easily create a feeling that the shot is fake, because as an audience we'll see this nice beautiful shine right there in the eye and nothing else, but then all the lighting is coming from the front of the face, not up here, not from the top right. You can see the shadows on that side. So if the shine was over here, suddenly it creates a disconnect between where the light source is coming and what happens with the lighting on the face. So unless you are very, very careful and you cheat it very carefully, more often than not, it can create the opposite of what we want. We want it to add life to it, and instead it'll take it away by making us go, something's not right. And most people, they won't know why it's not right. They'll just look at it and, oh, okay. But in the back of their mind, like, there's something that's clicking, going, there's something not correct in this scene. I'm not a fan of using light linking unless I really, really have to. Now, that doesn't mean I don't use it. I use it if I'm doing a full render scene. I use it all the time to simplify things, to speed up rendering, because sometimes objects, they don't need to be lit by a certain light that's like a mile away. Maya's still doing those calculations even though the light isn't even close to it. So I just break that connection, and now it's not calculating it, speeds things up. But when it comes to, like, especially lighting the face and the eyes, you have to be very, very careful, or else it's very easy to break that illusion of life. So yeah. Now, I did mention one thing to be careful with this specific setup is that some rigs like this one allow you to scale the eye. So I could do this, or I could scale it smaller. You'll notice that the eye shine does not scale with the eye. So in this case, I would have to make a much more advanced rig in order to have that happen for me. And this starts to go very deep into the rigging of every specific rig. So basically, there's a few different ways you could do this. One of the ways I could do this, and I want to try to think how I can show this easily, because it's really just going to involve me having to dig through all of the hierarchy in this rig. But you need to create a wrap deformer. So actually, let me duplicate this. Do that. So this is just another eye group here. Move it all out right there. Okay. So if I wanted this to be affected by the eye, what I would need to do is take this group and wrap it, create a wrap deformer. So deform wrap to the eye itself. And I think I did that in the wrong order. So it's group, then eye, I believe. Yeah. So with this, I created the second shine here, and I wrapped it, or I should say I wrapped this extra group to the eye control itself. So now when I scale it, you'll see it scales with the eye. Perfect. Yay. And I still retain the ability to move it around. And actually, there we go. I still retain that ability to move it around. And it will scale with the eye. Wow. Easy. Only one problem though. Because it's wrapped to the eye, even if I had it constrained to an aim control, as I move the eye, it is stuck to that eye. Now, the way I would get around that, so let's actually, I'm going to put that back in the center there. Let's actually hide this one. And let's start working with this. So the problem is, even if I were, let's kind of reset everything here. Boop. Okay, let's take my aim group and once again constrain it to my eye control. Constrain aim. Boop. I can delete that one. You'll see, hey, it follows. Yay! But it is stuck to that eye. And now what I'm going to be getting is like these double transformations and weird motions, I lose the ability to just put it in one spot and leave it there. Even if I use this follow line, it's not going to make a difference. You'll see it just follows the eye on its own. So there is a way to solve this, but this involves finding exactly what is controlling that eye and creating a reversal in there. So if you want, I could actually show that. It's not super visually interesting, but it is. Do you think the eye shine can even help in emoting the character, like using it in low to denote sadness? Yes. If you want to add more like tears to the eyes, you can add more so it looks like the eyes are wetter. You can use different shines to kind of show happiness. You can make a little star shaped one very subtly, or you could go really cartoony with it even to make like super happiness. You could make a heart-shaped shine, or like put a little heart shape in the center of the eye. You can do so many things with these. So like you can use it simply. Even like a subtle thing would be if the character is like very sad, having the shines shake a little bit, so it looks like there's like water in the eye that's shaking. Not much, or else it'll look kind of wiggly, but just enough to kind of add a teary emotion in there. So you can go really far with that. Let's see, I've been looking at Le Gouffre, which how they got that toon shading. They went with a similar approach with the ramp and for all the toon shaders. Yeah. So when you create toon shaders, it's a lot of fun to start getting into this kind of stuff. So, yeah. So if anyone's interested, I can show how to kind of solve this issue. So once again, just to be clear, the issue is that I've constrained this eye shine, which now scales with the eye and follows along perfectly. It's moving properly. So if I move this, perfect. But even though it is set to follow this eye control, it also just globally follows the direction of the eye as well, which is not good, because now I cannot get it to just stick in one place. And I'm also going to be getting double transformations when I try to move this and the other control. It's always going to be affecting one another, which makes controlling this extremely difficult. So if I did want to solve this, basically what I need to do is I need to add in another group in here. So this is going to be this is my wrap group. This is the one that gets wrapped to the eye. And then this is going to be my counter group. And basically, this group, I want its pivot point to be in the center, just like this one. So let's go to our trusty display, transform display, local rotation axes. Turn that on. Take this group, center its pivot right there. Perfect. So now if I rotate this counter group, let's see. Shine. Oh no, wait. I'm gonna have to think this even more. So this is following that. Oh wait, did I do this in the wrong group? No, wait, that's right. So there. Okay. Just need to figure out the order of things. So if I put this here, it's not going to work because the eye is aim constrained there. But if I put it one above, will this work? And this is why it's always a pain to kind of do this kind of stuff, because there's always Always something. Let's see. No. Okay, so I'd have to think of a different way of doing this. So the wrap is connected in there. Basically what I need is as the... Yeah, undo this. I need to have it so that as I move this eye control here, I have some math that basically tells the shine to do the opposite of what the eye is doing. Now, the big thing is figuring out where exactly that should happen. Because I can't really do it on this control because this is the wrap deformer. But I would need to... add another control somewhere. Would I be able to do it on this? Oh yeah, actually maybe if I just do it here. So if I create that group again, but instead I put it here. I was putting it too high, I think. Okay, let's try this. The joy of rigging. Finding all the little bits. Oop, and accidentally moved it there. Boop. Move its pivot point. And where did it go? So take that group, move its pivot point there. Okay. So let's do this. I'll move the pivot point there first and then group it. There we go. Okay, and let's reset all of this here. Make sure I've got everything in place. Okay, yes, this will do it. So, as I move this control, what I need is this counter group to then counter that motion and bring the eye shine back into place automatically. What this is going to do is allow me to create a much more complex system that keeps this scaling, but also gives me full control over that shine. So we've got this in place. Let me actually modify, freeze these. And let's see if that broke anything. I don't think it did, so yay. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to find out what this is rotating. When this control moves, what is it moving? It's not the geometry, it's not even the joint in the eye. And this is where it will be different for every single rig you do. So this is where it takes a little detective work. So I'm going to take my node editor here. Let's graph that out. And this is the eye control here. And what I want to figure out is what attribute is it rotating? Because it is rotating something. As that translates, it is connecting in a lot of math. And rotating, is it this one? Here. This is a good way to test it. So I want to be able to see if that control is rotating. So I'm just going to set some keys like this. So now that eye just rotates, it's kind of creepy looking. And let's find that joint again. Boop. And just see what happens to its attributes. Okay, it's rotating. So that might be our culprit right there. So I need to take this joint. Okay. Let's do this. Let's go to Windows, General Editors, Connection Editor. Load that on the left, so that's going to be the joint right there. And I need to go on the other side, my counter group. Like so. And basically what I want is the rotations. We'll see if this even works. I want to take my rotations and connect them into the rotations of that group as well. Now this is not going to work correctly at first. So let's just get rid of my keys here. Don't need them right now. Delete. Delete. So if I move this, what's happening to my counter group? It's rotating as well. And where is it rotating? So here it's in the center. And then as it goes over, it's over to the side. Okay, good. Goes up, it keeps going up. Okay. So, with that, I've basically made it so that as that eye joint rotates, it's taking the counter group and moving it the same amount, which is good, except I want it to be the opposite. As, for example, the eye looks up, the counter group should be countering that and moving the eye shine back down. So let's take my counter group and graph this out in the node editor. And basically, here's the joint that is feeding its rotation information. Oh, not there. Where is it? This one? Yeah, this one. It's taking its rotation information and going into the counter group here. So what I want to do is I just want to create a node. And I'm going to create, I could do it two ways. I could create a reversal node, which would reverse the values. Or in this case, I think it's going to be easier if I use multiply divide, which basically means I want to take the rotation from the eye joint, put that into input 1. Then I want to multiply that. Let's go into my channel box here by -1. That'll flip it. And then I want to output that into the rotation of the counter group, which means it will be countering that motion. Let's see if this worked. Not quite. It's now doing the opposite, but it's doing it too much, it seems. Let's try, just as a test, -0.5. I just want to see what's happening. Oops, wrong control. Oh, that's closer. So it's almost staying in place, but not quite. So I could just try to dial that in, but that basically gives me what I'm looking for. Now I'm trying to wonder, I'm just thinking, is there an easier way to do this? Because I basically wanted to do the opposite of that eye. geometry. And something is moving that eye perfectly. So how can I get that information in there? It should be that joint, but as we can see, it's not moving one to one. So there's another node in there somewhere that's getting some information. Oh, I'm missing some chat here. Zico, thank you so much for the follow. Gotta catch up. And Raz, thank you so much for the follow as well. Even if it's just editing the stream into recap, that would be cool. Yeah, that would. I would definitely want to do this. There's a lot of streams that I want to kind of cut down into just bite-sized elements. Because watching the full thing is a lot of what do I do here? Which is kind of the process, but not so much fun when you just want to get it done. I'm having trouble with my Play Blast. So when I Play Blast, it has the sound of the dialogue I'm animating to. But when I upload it to SyncSketch, there's no sound. Where has my badge gone? Oh no, where is your badge? You did have a badge before. So you Play Blast has the sound to the dialogue I'm animating to, but when you upload it to SyncSketch, there's no sound. It could be that SyncSketch isn't compatible with the audio type for some reason. As a quick test, just to see, try re-encoding your file, just to see. So I would recommend just using Handbrake. It's a quick free encoder. Just drag it in there, re-encode the file, make sure it's 24 frames per second, and then upload that. See if the audio stays in place. If so, it's an encoding issue, where for some reason as you're play blasting, the audio file that it is, or the audio type that it's play blasting with, is not compatible with SyncSketch for some reason. If that doesn't solve it, then the issue seems like it might be SyncSketch related, and we'll have to dig into the options there. So I would give that a test. And you could use Handbrake, or you could use any other encoding software. So if you have DaVinci Resolve, Adobe Premiere, Media Encoder, anything like that, basically just encode it as a H.264 type file. Let's see. So right now I'm just kind of trying to think what would be the best way to handle this, because I could keep dialing this down to try and get it just absolutely perfect. So as I move this, like 0.5 isn't quite enough. It's still moving backwards. Now, one way you can kind of resolve this, let's say I do want to just tone down the number and eventually get it into place. What I'm going to do, instead of having to like do test after test after test after test, which gets very tedious very quickly, let me reset everything here. So everything is back into its default pose. Right there. For some reason the shine seems a little low. Yeah, it got bumped down somehow. Interesting. Let me double check here. Okay, that's centered. It's like this is just a little too low. There we go. That might have been causing some issues. And let's freeze that. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to create a locator and put it right in that center of the eye there. Oops. So many oops. Didn't snap. So, boop, right there. Okay. So with that locator there, It's a little hard to see, so I'm going to go into the attribute editor, go into my drawing overrides, and I'm just going to set this to a really nice bright color, so maybe bright red. This way it just stands out. So with this, if I move the eye now, I really just need that the eye shine to stay where the locator was. So if I take my counter group here and let's select our connection. Let's tone this down. So let's see, -0.4. I think that's pretty close. So let's try pushing it a little bit more. So let's go down here. Okay. Not quite. It's still moving a little bit. Much closer though. So I could just leave it at that, but you can see how that gave me a little bit of a marker to tell whether things were being adjusted. Actually, that's pretty good. It moves a little bit once I get to this point, but at that point I'd probably be animating the shine anyway. So by using that marker, it just gave me a nice little indication. So with that, let's actually go here, and I think that pretty much got it close to what I need. So now I have this, and I can move the eye around, and that shine stays in place. I can still move it with this, and I can turn the follow align on and off so that it follows the eye. It's fully rigged now. And even better, it scales with the eye. So if I scale down the eye, there we go. It's still following. So now it is basically fully rigged. Now, I would have to do this on the other side. Let's turn follow line back on. I kind of like it when it just follows the and stays kind of in that one pose right there. There we go. Now, another thing I would probably do is I would connect the scale attribute here into this control as well. Now, what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't use these scales because I don't really want, well, I could make it grow larger and smaller there. But this control is kind of just, I don't want it to be tiny or huge. So I'm going to just lock and hide these attributes. So let's lock and hide selected. I'm going to instead go to modify, add attributes, and I'm going to add a float. So a float is 3 different numbers, which is X, Y, and Z. And this is going to be shine scale. Let's add that. Oh, sorry, float. What am I thinking of? Vector. There we go. So shine scale. It's a vector. I always mix up float and vector. So now we've got these 3 right there. Now, I do want to set this as a value of 1. So that is kind of the default scale. And let's set this back to a value of 1 as well. So that's kind of its default scale right there. And once again, to do this, I'm just going to use the connection editor. So I want to connect the shine scale to the actual scale of the eye shine here. Boop. There we go. Now, as I move this around, If I want to make it a little bit larger, there we go. Now, this is using 3 values. This is assuming that maybe I would want to make the scale of the eye like maybe a little thinner, a little whatever, like whatever I want to do, I could do that. But maybe you just want to keep it as a circle. In this case, you would just use the one attribute with the one scale and just connect it to all 3 X, Y, and Z. In this case, I want to have this ability. I want to be able to easily make it maybe a little wider so we get a shine like that. Gives us a little bit more control on there. And there we go. Now we don't even have to select that geometry anymore. We can just do everything we need from here. And we've got a nice shine control, all rigged up, good to go. And we'd have to do the whole thing on the other eye. So this is our Shine V2. There we go. So this is definitely something that I think I'm either going to re-record or try to cut this demo into a better version, because as we saw, like, it took me an hour and a half to do this. Like, this should just be a 10-minute video, or 15-minute maybe, or maybe I'll do like a 2-minute easy version, a 5-minute medium version, and the 10-minute hard version where you connect it into the rig and everything. But yeah, I might try to do that at some point if I have time, because this is definitely something that I find very helpful, especially when you can create a lot of these and just kind of create these shines that are, I don't know, it's got more personality than just the default, oh, eye shine. So for example, let's just add one right here. So dupe, and then let's go to our transparency, turn that up, and get that eye shine there. So you can see, like, that's the default eye shine right there. And then this is our new and improved eye shine. And when the character is looking straight at camera or close to, you can really see how it doesn't really add much, like that shine right in the center of the eye. It's not that interesting. Whereas this one, it just has that like pop to it. It makes the eye visually interesting, versus this, which just kind of gives a Terminator, like if this was a red glow, it'd be like, well, actually I wonder if I could do that. Just take my shine color, make it red. There we go. Now you've got the Terminator. Like, that's what it creates, is that odd feeling of light coming and being emitted from the eye versus light being shined on the eye.